We live in interesting times for the headlines. Joe Biden notches up startling wins over leftist rival Bernie Sanders in the Democrat Super Tuesday contest to challenge President Donald Trump. Tornadoes ripped through Tennessee early Tuesday, leaving at least 25 people dead. The World Health Organization announced new estimates suggesting that COVID-19 was far more lethal overall than previously suspected, but less transmissible. And the U.S. Federal Reserve has slashed interest rates to mitigate the damage the new coronavirus is wreaking on the world economy. I'm Alma Angeles, wherever you're watching from around the world. Thank you very much for joining us, and now to the news. First in the news, tornadoes ripped through Tennessee early on Tuesday, leaving at least 25 people dead, destroying buildings and toppling power lines hours before the southern U.S. state voted in Super Tuesday primaries. Take a look. Now, a report said residents ran for their lives as their homes came down around them. Tens of thousands lost power to their homes, according to officials, and television broadcasts showed cars piled up, hangars destroyed, and what appeared to be dozens of aircraft smashed onto each other at Nashville's John C. Chun Airport. The Nashville Police Department circulated aerial footage. Mayor John Cooper said around 150 people had been transported to medical facilities, while nearly 50 buildings had collapsed in the city, the hub of the U.S. country music scene. U.S. President Donald Trump said that he would visit the stricken areas on Friday. The Tennessee Emergency Management Agency, or TEMA, said the series of severe storms that passed through Tennessee caused major damage to buildings, roads, bridges, utilities, and even businesses. The storms hit exactly a year after tornadoes cut across Alabama, which lies directly south of Tennessee, killing 23. Meanwhile, at least 21 people have been killed in torrential rain that hit the Brazilian states of Sao Paulo and Rio de Janeiro, triggering flash floods and destroying homes, according to authorities. Another 32 people are missing in Sao Paulo, raising fears the toll could rise further. Violent storms in recent days have dumped a month's worth of rain on some areas in a matter of hours, devastating the southern coast of Sao Paulo state and poor neighborhoods on the outskirts of Rio de Janeiro, the country's second most populous city. Several highways were blocked by fallen trees and landslides, including some linking Santos, the biggest port in South America, to Sao Paulo, Brazil's largest city and economic capital. Brazil is having an especially intense rainy season this year. In January, or this summer, in January, more than 50 people were killed in Minas Gerais state, which neighbors Sao Paulo, in several days of violent rain. And to other news now, Joe Biden seized the momentum in the race to become the Democratic challenger to President Trump with a string of Super Tuesday victories against leftist rival Bernie Sanders after his candidacy had seemed close to collapse. Take a look.
It's a good night. It's a good night. And the season getting even better. They don't call Super Tuesday for nothing.
Now, the results signaled a remarkable comeback for Biden, a former vice president under Barack Obama, who will be vying once again for that front-runner status. A key takeaway from Biden's lengthening list of wins was the strong support for the former Vice President of Barack Obama from African Americans, a vital piece in any Democratic presidential candidate's coalition. However, he seemed to fare less well with the large Hispanic electorate, which in California reportedly went heavily for Bernie Sanders.
But we're going to win because the people understand it is our campaign, our movement, which is best positioned to defeat Trump.
Now, Michael Bloomberg crashed and burned in his presidential primary debut on Super Tuesday, failing to win any states in a dismal performance that left the former New York mayor facing questions about his future in the Democratic race. It was an ugly night for the billionaire U.S. media tycoon who had entered the nomination contest last November with high hopes and deep pockets, investing a record $500 million from his personal fortune into advertising before his name even appeared on a single ballot. Now, as the candidate who claims he is best positioned to defeat President Trump in November, his campaign signaled to NBC News that Bloomberg will reassess his candidacy Wednesday when a fuller data picture comes in.
Now, tonight the polls are still open in a number of Super Tuesday states, and as the results come in, here's what is clear. No matter how many delegates we win tonight, we have done something no one else thought was possible. In just 3 months, we've gone from 1% of the polls to being a contender for the Democratic nomination for president.
A total of 1,357 delegates were at stake on Tuesday, a third of the nationwide total. A candidate needs 1,991 delegates to win the nomination outright.
And the next Pete wins!
To other news now, the head of the World Health Organization announced new estimates suggesting that COVID-19 was far more lethal overall than previously suspected. World Health Organization Chief Dr. Tedros Ghebreyesus said he understood why people were rushing to stock up on supplies like masks. But with more data, there was a growing understanding of the virus and how it spreads, he said, stressing that the new virus was unique.
Fear is natural human response to any threat, especially when it's a threat we don't completely understand. But as we get more data, we're understanding this virus and the disease it causes, and more and more. This virus is not SARS, it's not MERS, and it's not influenza. It is a unique virus with unique characteristics. Both COVID-19 and influenza cause respiratory disease and spread the same way, by a small droplets of fluid from the nose and mouth of someone who is sick. However, there are some important differences between COVID-19 and influenza. First, COVID-19 does not transmit as efficiently as influenza from the data we have so far. With influenza, people who are infected but not yet sick are major drivers of transmission, which does not appear to be the case for COVID-19. The second major difference is that COVID-19 causes more severe disease than seasonal influenza. While many people globally have built up immunity to seasonal flu strains, COVID-19 is a new virus to which no one has immunity. That means more people are susceptible to infection, and some will suffer severe disease. Globally, about 3.4% of reported COVID-19 cases have died. By comparison, seasonal flu generally kills far fewer than 1% of those infected. To summarize, COVID-19 spreads less efficiently than flu. Transmission does not appear to be driven by people who are not sick. It causes more severe illness than flu. There are not yet any vaccines or therapeutics, and it can be contained, which is why we must do everything we can to contain it. And that's why WHO recommends the comprehensive approach.
Now, as part of preventive measures to stop the spread of COVID-19 coronavirus, the city government joins forces with the military to disinfect areas in Seoul.
손잡이, 그다음에 테이블, 그다음에 팔걸이, 화장실 등을 실시하고 있습니다. 주로 고객분들이 많이 이용하고 접할 수 있는 부분을 주로 소독을 실시하고 있습니다. 그리고
A total of 411 soldiers and 12 K-10 decontamination vehicles have been put into action to cover the more populated areas first, such as stations and parks. The Korea Railroad Corporation also makes efforts every day to disinfect the inside of trains. South Korea reports 142 more novel coronavirus cases, a significantly lower increase than the day before, taking its total to 5,328, the largest in the world outside China. South Korean President Moon Jae-in declaring war against the deadly virus. 4 more people had died, the Korea Centers for Disease Control and Prevention said on Wednesday, taking the toll to 32. South Korea has seen a rapid rise in infections in recent days as authorities carry out checks on more than 260,000 people associated with the Shinjeonji Church of Jesus, a religious sect often condemned as a cult that is now linked to more than half the cases. More than 4,000 cases have now been confirmed in southern city of Daegu, where the outbreak among Shinjeonji members began with a 61-year-old woman who developed symptoms on February 10, but attended at least 4 worship services in the city. Meanwhile, Iraq had confirmed its first death from the novel coronavirus. Hassan Khaliati, a member of the Parliament's Health Committee, insisted to AFP that Iraq's hospitals and healthcare facilities are still fully equipped to deal with the outbreak of the COVID-19. But available data tells a different story. According to the World Health Organization, Iraq has fewer than 10 doctors for every 10,000 residents. Iraq reported its first coronavirus case last week in an Iranian national studying at a religious seminary in the southern shrine city of Najaf. Meanwhile, Iran is scrambling to stop the rapid spread of the COVID-19 disease. Coronavirus has claimed 77 lives in Iran. The emergency services chief became the latest high-ranking official to be infected in the deadliest outbreak outside China. National Emergency Services Chief Hossein Kalivand was the latest high-profile official to contract the illness. Mohammed Mir Mohammadi, 72, a member of the Expediency Council, which advises Iran's supreme leader, died from the virus this week, according to Tasnim news agency. The country's deputy health minister, Iraj Harirchi, fell ill with COVID-19 last week. Now, on Tuesday, it announced another 11 deaths and 835 new infections, the biggest increase in a single day since the COVID-19 outbreak began nearly 2 weeks ago. And the new coronavirus is well established in Iran, UN health officials said, warning that a lack of protective gear for healthcare workers was complicating efforts to control the outbreak.
In terms of the workforce in Iran, there's a very, very strong workforce in health, right the way from the community up. The issues they face now are supplies, equipment, specific training in the use of PPE and in the intensive care management of very severely ill patients. And Iranian doctors and nurses have concerns that they don't necessarily have enough equipment, supplies, ventilators, respirators, oxygen, and all the things you've heard spoken about in many other press conferences. Those needs are more acute. It's not it's not an easy situation. There are multiple cities infected, and very like some other countries, the disease is now well established, and rooting out COVID-19 in countries where it has become established in multiple geographic zones is not impossible, but it's difficult.
Meanwhile, Australia's biggest supermarket announced a limit on toilet paper purchases after the global spread of coronavirus sparked a spate of panic buying down under. Woolworths said the restriction of 4 packs of toilet paper per person would apply to ensure more customers have access to the products. Hand sanitizers will also be sold from behind the service counter and restricted to 2 per person. Despite government assurances, there has been a run on some items at Australian supermarkets, with images on social media purportedly showing shelves stripped of goods and shoppers piling trolleys high with toilet paper. Now, police had to be called to a Sydney supermarket earlier at lunchtime Wednesday when a knife was drawn in a toilet paper aisle. New South Wales Police confirmed officers went to the Western Sydney supermarket but said there were no arrests and no injuries. Meanwhile, the death toll in the United States climbed to 9, many linked to a nursing home near Seattle, while the overall number of infections shot past 100, including cases on both coasts and the Midwest. Nationwide, there are more than 100 confirmed local or confirmed cases on both coasts and in the Midwest. The Life Care Center, a nursing home and rehabilitation facility in the Seattle suburbs, is at the center of the Washington outbreak so far, and the center has banned visits from family members until further notice and suspended new admissions. Meanwhile, as you can see here, these are shelves lying empty in grocery stores and pharmacies in Seattle as residents are stocking up on supplies after officials said on Monday that more people had died from the coronavirus in Washington state.
It's kind of freaked me out a little bit, so I'm trying to get all the supplies. Actually, I went online to Amazon to get masks, and I actually went to the drugstore across the street to get some masks, but they don't have it. And then I went inside here. I see that the supply is getting pretty low, so.
And, you know, it seems like a lot to do about, like, you know, something the media is hyping up. And I don't personally think I'll be affected by the actual virus, but I will be by the shortage. So, you know, just people panicking, it seems to be more of the problem than anything else, so.
I think the other thing you're seeing is that it's empty. I mean, it's pretty dead. A lot of people are working from home. I have a friend that works at Facebook. He's working from home. You know, it's a lot quieter than it used to be.
Meanwhile, residents over in Tokyo say they cannot buy toilet papers as panic buying also emptied the shelves in pharmacies amid the virus outbreak. Now, Japan has called for nationwide school closures as well, as the virus has infected at least 230 people across the country and been linked to some deaths. Take a look.
他の方は早い方5時ぐらいから並んでたって言ってました。で、私はちょっと昨日遅くまで仕事だったので今日はお休みなんですけど、あんまり遅く帰ってきたからと思ってちょっと早めに行けないと思いましたので、7時ということで友達と待ち合わせして。
もう全然ないですよね。トイレットペーパーがですよね。ないです。
気分的に女性は日本人が余計だよね。ああいうふうにね。 もう買わなきゃってな感じ。
Temperature checks, masks, and antivirus suits are common sights in some Beijing supermarkets as China comes to grips with the coronavirus outbreak. Take a look. Now that constant temperature checks, a no mask, no service ethos, and high-tech people tracking. Welcome to the new normal in China, where reminders of the national mobilization against coronavirus lurk around every corner. Now, the changes wrought by a contagion spread by humans and their travels is particularly felt when trying to move around within China. Reminders of the virus begin as soon as one leaves home, with masked cab drivers in white gloves quick to admonish any passengers who forget to wear masks. Now, some drivers are also going even further. In the city of Wenzhou, about 4 hours by train from Shanghai, AFP reporters jumped into a car called via Didi Xuxing, China's answer to Uber, in which a clear plastic barrier was stretched over a makeshift frame to separate driver and the passengers. Didi Xuxing piloted the project in a handful of hard-hit cities and plans to spend 100 million yuan or $14 million to expand it. Travelers booking tickets aboard the country's efficient high-speed rail network lately are surprised to find that despite travel being depressed by fears or virus fears, popular booking apps like Ctrip invariably list most trains as sold out or with only a handful of seats left. With the government calling for an all-out people's war against the virus, tech champions like Alibaba and Tencent have also rolled out digital mobile phone apps that use big data to track a traveler's movements going back as far as a month. Users are rated as green, yellow, or red based on whether they visited any high-risk zones. Showing one's code to security personnel is now compulsory in a number of cities to exit train stations or use public transport. Meanwhile, Hong Kongers are escaping the coronavirus anxiety that has gripped the crowded city by heading for the hills to find fresh air and space to exercise. Take a look.
因為始終太多日屈喺屋企啦，咁就變咗就出嚟行下山。其實我諗大家諗法類似嘅，希望都呼吸下可能新鮮空氣，或者即係舒服啲、舒緩下，即係吹下風、望下景咁樣咯，轉換下心情。
And you can help yourself and even your loved ones stay healthy by washing your hands often, especially during these key times when you're likely to get and spread germs. Learn how you should wash your hands. To stay healthy, watch this. All right, to other news now. The U.S. launched an airstrike against Taliban fighters to defend Afghan forces on Wednesday, according to an American military spokesman, as violence spirals after a string of deadly attacks by the insurgents, throwing the country's nascent peace process into grave doubt. Now, news of the airstrike in southern Helmand province, the first in 11 days, came hours after U.S. President Donald Trump told reporters he had a very good chat with the Taliban political chief, who on Saturday signed a historic deal with Washington to withdraw foreign forces. Take a look.
I spoke to the leader of the Taliban today. We had a good conversation. We've agreed there's no violence. We don't want violence. We'll see what happens. They're dealing with Afghanistan, but we'll see what happens. Okay?
Do you believe this is a pandemic, sir? Is this a pandemic?
We had actually a very good talk with the leader of the Taliban.
Is this a pandemic?
Now, since the signing in Doha, however, the militants have ramped up violence against Afghan forces, ending a partial week-long truce that provided a rare reprieve to war-weary residents. U.S. Forces Afghanistan spokesman Sonny Leggett tweeted that the airstrike took place against Taliban fighters who were actively attacking an Afghan forces checkpoint in Helmand province. Now, President Trump has touted the Doha deal as a way to end the bloody 18-year U.S. military presence in Afghanistan, right in time for his November re-election bid. Now, under the terms of the deal, U.S. and other foreign forces will quit Afghanistan within 14 months, subject to Taliban security guarantees and a pledge by the insurgents to hold talks with the national government in Kabul. The agreement also included a commitment to exchange 5,000 Taliban prisoners held by the Afghan government in return for 1,000 captives, something the militants have cited as a prerequisite for talks, but which President Ashraf Ghani has refused to do before negotiations start. Now, President Trump has said the Taliban and Washington both have a very common interest in ending the war. Now, since Saturday's deal signing, the Taliban have been publicly claiming victory over the U.S. And on Monday, they announced they would resume attacks on Afghan national forces. And the news continues here on Eagle News. We'll be right back.
At Hatley Castle, one of the filming locations for the X-Men series. Don't forget to tune in to Digital Nest only on Net25.
Going live with Shelly Lazaro, Saturdays, 10 a.m. on Net25.
Innovation, digital disruption, globalization. Startups, micro, small, and medium enterprises, as well as large corporations, all face interesting challenges in the market today. Peek into the world of exciting opportunities and partnerships to drive growth with the latest business news and information. We are open for business. Join the conversations to create a more vibrant environment for entrepreneurship. Catch Open for Business every Saturday from 5 to 6 p.m. Open for Business, from vision to action.
as global health chiefs also warned that supplies of essential protective gear were shrinking rapidly. Take a look.
We do recognize that a rate cut will not reduce the rate of infection. It won't fix a broken supply chain. We get that. We don't think we have all the answers. But we do believe that our action will provide a meaningful boost to the economy. More specifically, it will support
investors on Wall Street, with the Dow Jones Industrial Average finishing nearly 3% lower. Asian markets were mostly up in afternoon trade Wednesday, but Hong Kong was down. Now, Federal Reserve...
You have 7 countries, obviously, and different policies, different situations, different mandates, a lot of overlap. And the sense of that is to get together as a group and say at a high level that these are the things we're going to do. We're going to use our tools, all of our tools, in a strong way to try to support the economy. So it's a statement of general support. I think within that, you will see actions. You've seen our action. And I think it's up to individual countries, individual fiscal policies, and individual central banks to do what they're going to do. I would think it's possible there will be some more formal coordination as we move forward.
Meanwhile, the World Bank unveiled a $12 billion aid package that will provide fast-track funds to help countries combat the coronavirus outbreak. The goal is to provide fast, effective action that responds to country needs, according to World Bank President David Malpass. He said it is critical to recognize the extra burden on poor countries, least equipped in the struggle to prevent the spread of the COVID-19 virus. Now, the funds, some of which are targeted to the world's poorest nations, can be used for medical equipment or health services and will include expertise and policy advice, according to the bank in a statement. A first EU official working in the bloc's Brussels administration has tested positive for the novel coronavirus, according to European officials on Wednesday. Take a look. A spokeswoman for the European Defense Agency confirmed that a male public servant of the agency had returned from Italy on February 23 and subsequently tested positive. Meetings at the headquarters of the Brussels-based agency have already been cancelled until March 13, according to Elizabeth Schaufman. But the EDA spokeswoman denied a report that the official had attended a 4-hour meeting with 30 more staff from the other EU bodies in the city before he was diagnosed. Brussels is the de facto capital of the 27-nation union and home to many of its institutions, including the European Commission, European Council, and the European Parliament. Parliament has already limited public access to its buildings in Brussels and Strasbourg amid fears that the large gatherings could hasten the spread of the global outbreak. Eagle News will be right back.
Mga kababayan, lalo na sa mga OFWs sa Middle East at North Africa, may good news kami para sa inyo. Mapapanood na ninyo ang Net25 at iba pang Filipino channels na hatid ng OSN sa presyong abot kaya. Libre ng box at installation, walang admin fees at no extra charges. Saktong entertainment na sakto lang sa budget mo. Bumisita na sa pinakamalapit na OSN store o dealer and subscribe now! Sa Net25 at OSN, siguradong at home ka dito.
The International Olympic Committee said Tuesday it was busy with preparations for a successful Summer Games in Tokyo in less than 5 months, and at a time when the coronavirus outbreak is widening. IOC President Thomas Bach speaking at the opening of the Olympic body's two-day executive board meeting in Lausanne. Let's listen in.
You can have all the speculation that you want, and I would love to give you a good story, but the fact is we, on all of the proper evidence that we have from the competent authorities, there's no reason for us not to plan to have the Games starting on the 24th of July. But we are working with each federation. The sports director is working with all the federations to make sure that we can adapt qualification as best we can to the situation in which we find ourselves. But as things stand at the moment, my understanding is that the torch relay is going ahead as normal. Thank you.
However, a Japanese government minister said that the Tokyo Olympics contract could allow the Games to be postponed until later in 2020 as concerns over the new coronavirus surge. Take a look.
先般 IOC の公式見解ではありませんでしたけれども、カナダの IOC 委員のパウンド氏から5月の末が決定をする最終期限ではないかというような発言がありましたので、5月の末というのが一つ大きな基準になっているのかというふうにも思いますけれども、開催都市契約の第66条に IOC は以下のいずれかに該当する格闘する場合、本契約を解除して開催都市における本大会を中止する権利を有するというふうになっておりまして、本大会が2020年中に開催されない場合とだけ書いてあります。この解釈によっては延期ということは2020年中であればということに取れるかというふうに思いますけれども。
Now, officials have repeatedly stressed they are committed to holding the Games on time. The Olympics have only been cancelled on 3 occasions during the First and Second World Wars. In Japan, a wheelchair rugby test event for the Paralympics was cancelled this week, while training for Olympic volunteers was postponed and the nationwide torch relay looks set to be scaled back. Football, rugby, and Formula One are among the long list of sports affected. Japan's Prime Minister has called for schools to close and for major events to be cancelled, while several Olympic qualifying tournaments around the world have been delayed, cancelled, or moved. In other sports news, established in 2001 by the NBA and FIBA Basketball Without Borders, is an instructional camp and community outreach program that unites young basketball players to promote the sport and encourage positive social change in the areas of education, health, and wellness. Now, Filipino 7'2" phenom Kai Soto was invited to this event. EBC sports correspondent Aljamin Santos with the details.
Basketball Without Borders has been a chapter of the NBA's efforts in uniting the world through the sport. And for many of today's NBA stars, basketball has helped them better more than just their own lives, but also for the people they love. Philippines' young prodigy Kai Soto was selected to take part in the NBA All-Star Weekend in Chicago, Illinois. Standing at 7'2", Kai exhibits more than just his post game, but also displays ball handling, shooting, and court vision. What goes through the mind of a 17-year-old from a small country like the Philippines when a great opportunity arises? What would you say inspires you to get up and start training?
It starts off with my family, my dad, because, you know, my dad sacrificed everything. He actually coached 2 teams in the Philippines, but he sacrificed that to help me reach my goal and my dream. So I just wake up every morning thinking of my dad, my mom, and 2 of my younger siblings. All of them transferred with me here in America, so that's just, I think that's more than enough inspiration for me. And second thing, I still have a big family in my country, and I still have a lot of Filipinos that believe in me. So, yeah. Right now, I really watch a lot of Nikola Jokic, Anthony Davis, Kristaps Porzingis, those guys. I'm just like trying to learn from all of the players in the NBA and just trying trying my best to mix it into one.
Anything else you want to say to some of the Filipinos that have been supporting you?
I just want to thank every single Filipino that's been supporting me, and I won't let you down. I promise you, I'll always try my best. And yeah, I love you all.
What are your thoughts and your emotions going on right now from you this weekend?
Maganda. It's been great for us as a family, especially for me as a father, na nakikita ko si Kai na nag-enjoy. Kasi importante para sa akin na nag-enjoy sa mga ginagawa niya. So magandang platform ko kung DWB para sa kanya, para ma-showcase niya yung talent na binigay sa kanya ng Panginoon. Nakapakita niya na kaya niya maglaro dito, ma-showcase niya, and magkaroon siya ng madaming kaibigan sa iba't pang lugar ng mundo. Saka naisip ko na medyo maganda yung mga challenge na competition na nangyayari dito. May mga kalaban siya na mga halos kasi laki niya, mas malalakas sa kanya, mas athletic. So maganda para sa development. Hopes and dreams, siguro sa akin, makita ko siya dun sa stage na nagko-compete siya and then nag-enjoy siya. Yun sa akin, ganun yung ano ko eh. Kasi pag nakikita ko masaya siya, masaya na rin ako eh. Parang alam mo yan. Tapos nakikita ko siya na challenge siya. Gusto ko rin yun kasi alam ko na meron pa siyang i-improve. So, yung dream ko talaga, kahit dati pa, sabi ko sa kanya yun na gusto ko mag-ano sa NBA. So, siyempre, hindi tayo pinahalad. Pero sabi nga siguro, sinabi sa akin ng Panginoon na nire-ready lang kita kasi mayroong mas magandang opportunity para sa'yo. Which is kayong nakikita ko na pwedeng chance na mag-NBA. So, sabi ko kay Guy na hindi madali. Mahirap talaga. Pero hindi imposible. Lalo pag kasama mo yung Panginoon sa lahat ng journey mo. So, sana magdire-diretso lang yung development niya, yung mga challenges, practices, and everything. Ready naman siya, committed siya, dedicated siya.
The game of basketball continues to grow beyond the borders of countries through events held, and even more so with appearances and support from former and current basketball stars in today's NBA. The future looks very bright for the league with young talent developing, but also for the youth who will take home what they've learned and how they will be able to support themselves and their loved ones. From the Quest Multisport in Chicago, Illinois, Aljamain Santos, Eagle News, always one with 25.
Eagle News, we'll be right back.
Sali na sa pinakabago at pinakamalaking nationwide talent competition ngayon! Tagisan ng Galing! 4.5 million worth of cash prizes await winners who will perform at the Philippine Arena. Grand Champion, 2 million pesos. First runner-up, 1.5 million pesos. Second runner-up, 1 million pesos. Sing, dance, or perform unique and new acts. Audition now! Like the Net25 Facebook page, subscribe to the Net25 YouTube channel, and tune in to the show Himig ng Lahi for more announcements. Tagisan ng Galing! Presented by Eagle Broadcasting Corporation, Kabayan Ko, Kapatid Ko, and Net25. Tagisan ng Galing!
We are living during the most extraordinary time in human history.
All transport will go fully electric.
Es wird eine völlig neue Mobilität geben, meine Damen und Herren.
Rev, the new auto show on DW. Getting you into gear on cutting-edge developments.
Wasserstofferzeugung braucht Energie.
We focus on green technology.
Das Auto ist im Betrieb absolut emissionsfrei.
And also feature head-to-heads. And the latest launches.
Fahrgefühl war gut, er lässt sich sehr gut fahren, er liegt sehr gut auf der Straße.
And mobility stories from around the world.
Mercedes depuis 2005.
Times are indeed tough in the western Canadian province of Alberta. Eagle News correspondent Karina Buluran tells us about members of an Edmonton church who made sure the city's homeless weren't forgotten. Take a look.
It's almost spring and temperatures are warmer. We don't hear as many stories about people scrambling to find shelter in minus 40-degree weather. But for those with no place to live, life is still a daily struggle. Homeward Trust is an agency trying to end homelessness in the Alberta capital. The agency says more than 1,600 people in Edmonton do not have a place to stay. There are places such as this one, Hope Mission. It provides shelter for over 500 people and feeds about 1,000 people a day. One touching story that I heard today was from this man named Cody.
I ended up in Edmonton last September. I wanted to try to get away from the drugs. That didn't work too well. I was working for WestJet, got fired because I didn't go back to the airport. I've been a drug addict since I was 8 years old. Born with ADD, FAS, used from my real parents, which I never met them yet. Still struggling with drugs, which one day I will get it.
Cody's story is one that is heard often on these streets.
I make enough money in bottles that I can feed myself and do the drugs. But if I put my mind to it, I'm going to start going to meetings to get cleaned up.
Today, several congregations of the Iglesia Ni Cristo or Church of Christ in Edmonton have gathered in the inner city. Church spokesman, Brother Paquito Ibanez, says they are here to give a hand up to some of the less fortunate in our city.
We're giving away these care packages for the homeless. One is here in Hope Mission and one over there also in Boyle Street where there are so many homeless people sitting over there.
They are distributing care bags which contain snacks and some of the necessities of life such as soap, a toothbrush, and toothpaste. These are things most of us take for granted, but when you live on the street, items such as soap or a toothbrush are out of reach. Brother Ibanez says helping those who have little is part of their faith.
The intention of the church administration is to continue on in our effort in helping people who are in need. So with the same spirit with that, the brethren in this district, through the leadership of our district minister, have encouraged everyone in our district, especially the officers, to participate in this.
The items distributed today may not seem like much, but for some, the act of kindness may be the first time in a long time they have experienced a stranger's caring. In Edmonton, Karina Buluran, Eagle News, 1 with 25.
Guerrero 2, the continuation of the hit movie Guerrero, was well received in Winnipeg. Here's Eagle News correspondent Iris de Guzman with the details.
Guerrero 2 is another film by Carlo Ortega Cuevas and a continuation of the story of boxer Ramon Guerrero, who was tragically knocked out in a boxing match that put him in a coma. In this movie, we follow Ramon's younger brother Miguel and what took place while Ramon was unconscious. Miguel, played by Julio Cesar Sabinario, stole the show both in the first movie and in this one with his humor and one-liners. While the first movie focused on Ramon overcoming his problems, in this story we see how Miguel overcomes his. The story proved to be a hit with the Winnipeg audience.
It's very good. It's very creative in that it's hard to predict what will happen. I appreciate that the director took a lot of unique turns. The acting was very well done, and it really pulls at your heartstrings at certain scenes. So otherwise, a very good movie.
It's a really good movie for a variety of ages, but I think especially for the youth. Especially since the main character is a much younger character. So I think it'll relate more to the younger generation and don't give up so easily, even though there's a lot of problems in life. And I think that's a really good lesson to put out there. Yeah, the movie was very enjoyable. I really liked it.
Just as the first Guerrero film left the audience wanting more, this one does the same. Reporting from Eagle News, I'm Iris de Guzman. I'm 1 with 25.
Thank you, Iris. And that's the news for tonight. Join us online and here again tomorrow evening. From all of us here at Eagle News, thank you, and we'll see you soon. I'm Alma Angeles, always 1 with 25. Good night.